Hi, everyone, and welcome to our What's New in Canvas webinar. I am Jenny McGee, and with me is my counterpart, Rich Cummings. We are instructional designers in the e-learning division, and we are going to give you an overview today of all the stuff that is new in Canvas. So some of it is going to be just tweaks and improvements to features that you already know and love or know and use in Canvas, and others are going to be some couple of completely new things that we want to share with you. And some of the features that we're going to show you are already enabled in Canvas, so you may have already seen these if you're working on your course, but others that are completely new or big changes we have not turned on yet, and we will turn those on tomorrow. I'll mention to you which ones those are. So some of these we're waiting to turn on until we get to introduce them to you. We are recording this webinar, and we will put the recording in the Canvas Faculty Hub. If you are brand new and you are not part of the Canvas Faculty Hub, I did try to add any names that I did not recognize to it, but you will see our email address toward the end of the presentation, and you can just send us an email and ask to be added to the hub. That's where we store all of our webinar recordings and our tutorials, guides, all of our resources that have to do with Canvas and online teaching and learning are there. So we do want to make sure that everyone has access to that. And we will be putting the recording in the hub later this week when we have an opportunity. As you can imagine, it's a little hectic this time of year, but we do want to make sure that everyone has that as soon as possible. If you have questions at any point in time, feel free to type them into the chat. You could also put them in the Q&A, and Rich and I will be monitoring that. We may stop and answer the question right when you put it in if it's something that we want to address right then, or we may wait. There will be plenty of time at the end. This is not going to take an hour, so there will be plenty of time for us to answer any questions that you might have. All right, so to start, we are going to look at the performance and usability upgrades that Canvas Instructure has done for SpeedGrader. And we'll take a look at those in just a second. So if you use SpeedGrader, I think most of you probably do, that is the built-in tool in quizzes and assignments and discussions that you use to quickly, hopefully, grade your students' submissions. And a lot of what this has, the improvements here are actually on the back end, so it's not going to be something that you see, but they're saying that they've done back-end performance improvements that are going to result in quicker load times and smoother interactions, especially for large enrollment courses. We don't have any huge enrollment courses here with hundreds of students in them, so this may or may not really affect us a whole lot. There's also some stickers in there now, which I think probably was maybe more designed for K-12, but you never know if you want to give someone a sticker. I'll show you where the copy leak score is going to be, and this is one that's going to be turned on tomorrow, so you won't see it quite yet. So let me go ahead and turn to Canvas here. All right, so you will notice over on the right-hand side, this is SpeedGrader in assignments. It's going to be pretty much the same, or you will see the same types of features in discussions and in quizzes. So it looks pretty similar. You still have your drop-down menu where you can view the time-stamped submissions from students if there's more than one submission. This is the box where you would put the score. If it has a status like it's late or missing or excused, you can use the drop-down menu for that. Here are your little stickers. So you want to give someone a star, you can do that. And now the only difference with copy leaks is that your similarity score and your AI score, all of that report is going to be now in the details here. So you'll have to click details in order to see your copy leaks score. So that's going to be in that details tab. And then the rest of it is still pretty much the same. So there was a new rubric redesign that rolled out this time last year. So if you have not seen that yet, that's something, it is a lot easier to use, and you can just click right on the score for the student and it will add it to the score, and then we'll add it all up, and that will be the student's score. So if you do make rubrics, it's a lot easier to grade with rubrics. And just like before, you can do a video feedback. You can have the screen up so you can go over an assignment and make comments and do what you'd like, record it, and then share it with the students. So again, that's going to be just a couple changes that you can see, but they're saying that it should be smoother on the back end. And so that's something nice to look forward to, but it may not be something that's immediately apparent when you pull it up. And we are going to turn this on tomorrow. All right, so now I am going to turn this over to Rich for the next item on our agenda, which is going to be discussions, checkpoints. So let me stop sharing my screen. And Rich, I will go ahead and turn it over to you for the next item.
All right. Hello, everybody. Back in, I say, November, December, we put an announcement out about discussion checkpoints in structure, and Canvas had put out a new format for discussion posts, basically making benchmarks and actually being able to apply individual dates instead of having one date for the end date of the discussion, and you actually have to go back and manually create times for students to put it in. Now there's an actual goalpost put in for each discussion checkpoint. We ran into a problem. We started testing it, and we identified some problems way back in January, and we had to revert it off. So Canvas agreed, and they had to take back their initial rollout of discussion checkpoints and kind of take it back to the engineers. They had since straightened it out. I had an opportunity to test it in a live class over the summer, and it seemed to be working as planned, which is very nice. So what I'm going to do is just demonstrate the setup for the discussion checkpoints, what it looks like in, make sure everybody can see the screen here, show you the checkpoints and what it'll look like on the student side and what it'll look like on your side. It's minor changes, but the setup is a little bit different. So you're going to go into your discussion posts, and you're going to create the discussion posts. And on the right side, in order to set everything up, you're going to click Edit. All right, this will bring up the same sample box, instructional boxes you've seen in the past. Some key things we're going to point out at the bottom of the screen here. What you're going to look for is, as normal, you're going to click this to be a graded discussion. You still have the option of leaving it the old way. If you just clicked graded discussion and you didn't want to assign graded checkpoints, you can do that. You can leave it out. You can leave it the old way if you like, or you could do it this way. If you want to decide checkpoints, for instance, if your class runs through Monday through Friday, and you have a discussion post assigned on a Monday, and you want their initial post, their student post, to be in by Wednesday, you can assign that date. They'll see that date in their to-do list. It'll be on their calendar. It'll be reminded on the modules. So they'll be able to see that date, in addition to adding a second date or a third date for another checkpoint or the end of the discussion. So here we're going to assign some checkpoints. We're going to check the box here. And this is going to expand everything, all these menus at the bottom here, which you won't see unless you click this assign graded checkpoints. What I suggest doing is changing the view. You're going to change it to expanded. So, and you're going to lock that from the student. So every single thread will be shown from top to bottom without them collapsing it, so they can't miss anything. You're also going to leave it in newest order, which is the best way, and it always has been done that way, but they do give you the option to go oldest to newest. So I leave it on newest. We suggest you just leave it on newest, and you want to also lock that box so the students can't change it on their side. It gives consistency throughout the class. That way, if you run into an issue with a student, you know it's not them changing that point. Your grades are all the same as before. Points, percentage, complete, incomplete, letter grade, GPA scale. Again, we leave it on points. Your assignment group, if you're going to change it to a discussion group or whatever group you have it in your weighted grade assignments, you can do that. For this purposes of the demonstration, we'll just leave it in assignments. You can also assign peer reviews, which we're not going to touch on today. We've touched on in the past. Now, here's the checkpoint settings I wanted to talk about real quick. Points possible, reply to the topic. Now, this is the student initial reply. How many points do you want this to be worth? if we're going to make this assignment 100 points, we'll make their initial response to the question worth up to 70 points. And again, total possible changes automatically at the bottom. Now, additional replies required. You can reply up to 10 replies. I think the general rule of thumb for most classes, with classes that I use or I have taught, I give 2. So they have to reply to 2 students' posts in addition to posting their own post. Now, those you have to give a point value to also. So we have 30 points remaining. So each post, you have 2 posts, total of 30 points remaining. It's important to know that you have to just make sure this says 100 points. It makes it easier for the students to understand. So your initial post will be 70, and we'll show them that. They're required to post 2, and those 2 are worth a total up to 30 points. Scrolling down to the date boxes, you'll see that this has been expanded also. The first box you want to look at is the reply to topic due date. This will be the date that you want the student to apply to respond to the question. So if it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll just say Wednesday for this, 11:59 p.m. Required replies due by. I usually make those at the end, by the end of the assignment date. So if everything's due by Friday, we'll just make it Friday. And this hasn't changed at the bottom. So the entire assignment is due from, we'll say from today until Friday. So what's been added here is the initial due date for the response from the student and a second date, which is the date that the students have to reply to other students. We'll scroll down, we'll save and publish it. And when it takes you back to the modules, it will show you both dates. So when you're going through your modules, it'll also show you to test it. The name of the discussion post has to be replied to topic by August 27th, 2 required replies by August 29th. So that'll show you on the student side of things, it will also show them those same dates. So it'll be separated out on the student in their modules. It'll be a second module underneath of this right here that'll say the required replies are due by. If you have 3 replies, there'll be 3 boxes. If you have 2 replies, there'll be 2 boxes, so forth and so on. What that does is it allows them to see it on their to-do list as individual entries rather than one complete entry under one date. The SpeedGrader workflow is the same when you go to your discussion checkpoints. So I'll bring up the SpeedGrader. There is one significant change that has been made in the SpeedGrader. What you'll see here, you'll see the reply to topic. You can, this is where you grade them individually. And the same goes as Ginny demonstrated earlier with the SpeedGrader change. You can change it to late, missing, excused, extended. You can change the replies. Now, if they reply to one of the 2, it would be 15 or whatever grade you deem necessary. Once you put the 2 grades in for the reply to the topic and the required replies, it'll automatically total it for you. You can put your comments and you can submit. Again, you can give video comments, you can give typed out comments, however, whatever you feel necessary, privately to the student from this side. And that's all I have for the discussion checkpoints and the major changes for that. I see there's a question here. How does the discussion change if you check this is a group discussion versus the leaving it off? The group discussion, I'm trying to find the setting, Darina. Darina, I'll get right back to you on that one. For time purposes, I will answer you in the chat, and I'm going to turn it back over to Ginny for some more information.
All right, thanks, Rich. So we were very excited about the differentiation checkpoints, or the checkpoints for the discussions that came out last year, and we're supposed to have come out last year. And we were bummed when they didn't actually work. So Rich has been using them in his summer course that he's taught. So we're pretty confident in saying that they are not glitchy anymore and that they are good to go if you want to have those 2 separate due dates. All right, so next we are going to talk about a brand new feature. And again, this one is not turned on yet in our production instance of Canvas. We will be turning it on tomorrow. So Differentiation tags are brand new, and it allows instructors to create custom sets of students within a course. And we'll talk about some use cases for this in just a minute. What sets this apart from groups is that groups for students are supposed to be visible to the students, and they know who their group members are. They have their own little workspace that they can use. That is not what differentiation tags are for. Differentiation tags are for the instructor's purposes. They're hidden from students. And we'll look again at some of the different ways that we can use these. So, for example, if you have different groups of students that have specific student needs, you can target assignments to those different tag groups and easily assign them their own specific homework or quizzes or resources that you want just those individual students or groups to have. It also allows for differentiated instruction. So if somebody needs, you have a few students that didn't do well on a test and you want just them to have certain recap of the information or an additional assignment that you just want them to be able to do, you can set that up, and I'll show you what that looks like in Canvas. If you have students with accommodations, so you have certain students that need more time on quizzes or something like that, you can discreetly tag the students. Again, they're not going to see this and their classmates aren't going to see it. And you can just if you can just put a tag that says extra time on a test or something like that, and it will help to kind of keep that on your radar and make sure that you give them those accommodations. There's also communication streamlining, so you can inbox message certain groups or tag sets that you would like to communicate with without communicating with the entire class. And you can also filter the gradebook to only view certain students with those tags. So let me show you what that's going to look like. So in the People tab, the tags are going to be managed in the People tab. Again, this is in Canvas test, so you will not see this in your instance of Canvas until tomorrow. But when you are in People, you're going to see a couple of things that look a little different. You'll still see, of course, your list of all your students and all that. But you will also see there's little check boxes now that is next to each student's name. And you're going to see these buttons up here, tag as and manage tags. And you will see that I've already pre-tagged some of these. If I click on the tag, I can see what that student is tagged as. And so one example of why you might want to use this is, let's say you are teaching a course for future educators and you've got a mixed group and you want to keep tags for who is elementary level, who is middle school, who is early childhood, and so on, so that you can assign them assignments that are more pertinent to what their degree is going to be in. So we're going to click this Manage Tags button here. Now, you can add a tag by itself, or you can create a tag set. So I created a tag set that says instructional level, and then underneath that, so far, I've got early childhood, elementary, and middle school. And I have 4 students each that are tagged to each of those groups. So you can create a tag by clicking this Add Tag button under Manage Tags. And let's say I now want to put a high school level in. I can either add it as a single tag, or if I have a tag set, I can add it to that. And I did create a tag set for this for instructional level. And I'm going to click Save. So now I have that one available. If you want to create a tag set, you'll click that Add Tag and you will create the tag and then create that as a tag set. If you just want a single tag, you can do that as well. And we will have a guide put into the Canvas Faculty Hub as well, so that if you need some more information about this, you can go and look at that. But let's say we've got the ones that are not yet tagged. So I'm just going to select these 4. And I'm going to come up here and say tag as, and I've got my tags here. I can also add a new tag from here if I'd like to. I'm going to make these my high school students. So now that I have all my tags here, from modules or assignments or discussions, anywhere that you have items that you can assign just to particular students. So you can do it from the module level. So if I have a module that I only want my high school education students to do, I can click on my three dots here and click on Assign To. And this is just the assign to function in modules is fairly new. This is one of the ones we covered in last year's What's New in Canvas. So if you haven't seen this, just so you know, you can assign modules only to individual groups. So by default, it's going to be assigned to everyone, but I can click Assign To, and then in my drop-down menu, I can just select the tag group that I want to assign it to, and they are the only ones that will see it. And then down at the bottom, I would just click Save, and it will assign it just to those students. Again, the same thing can be done with quizzes, assigned to the assignments can be assigned to. So it does allow you for a lot of differentiation. Also in the Grades tab, if you just wanted to look at one particular group and see how that tag group is doing, you can click this Apply Filters button at the top and click on the differentiation tag filter, and then just select the students that are in that group, and you'll see their names listed there. Finally, you can also use the inbox to just message students that are in that tag group. So if I click Compose up at the top and select my course, then I can come and click on this little address book here, go down to differentiation tags, and I can just message the students in one of my groups. So there's a lot of cool ways that these could probably be used, and as time goes on, you and we will probably think of other ways that it can be used, but it's nice because it is not something that students are going to see. Okay, so Amy had asked, can you still add a grading rubric with checkpoints? I don't think that we've tried that out, but yes, it should still allow a grading rubric. However, I believe the rubric is only for the whole submission. I don't think that the rubric breaks it up into because I remember reading that that's something that people have requested. So I don't think that you can put two rubrics in, one for the initial reply and one for the responses to students' posts. It would just be one rubric for the whole assignment. So that's something that they may be working toward adding, but I'm not 100% sure that that's in the pipeline. All right, so next we have our files redesign, and this is one that is already in Canvas. It is turned on for everyone, so you may or may not have noticed it, depending on whether or not you've clicked on your Files tab. So this is what files used to look like, and the reason that it is coming up for me in the old way is because I clicked the button at the top that said Switch to Old Files page, and you will see that. So the files never were very easy to delete or move around. If you needed to delete, you had to click on the kebab, the three dots to the right, and click delete for each one, which is not a fast way to do things. So by default, when you click on your Files tab in your course, it's going to look like this. And again, if you need a little time to adjust to change, this button will be here till the end of the year, so you can kind of get used to it. But this is a really nice feature because you can select everything. You could delete everything. You could delete everything in a folder or move it around if you need to free up some space, because we all know that we're limited in the amount of space we have in each individual course. So this just makes it very easy to organize your files and to delete them, to move them around. So play around with it, and I think that this is definitely one feature that is very much appreciated, especially for courses that have a lot of files in them. Trying to clear them out, clear out some space without clearing out everything can be very tedious. All right, so the next thing we have here is our course analytics. And these were called new course analytics for the last couple of years when they rolled out. It basically is the same. So if you've used your course analytics in the past, it's not really going to look much different, but they're taking off the new because it's no longer new. It's been around for a couple of years. So I do want to just show you, because I've realized that some instructors aren't aware of all the information that you can get in new course analytics, or now just course analytics. So if I go to my course here and I click on the home page over on the right hand side, you'll see where it says course analytics. So there's a lot of different things that you can find in here. This isn't a real course, so it's not going to have a ton of activity, but you can look at the average course grade. You can select individual students from the list. You can look at students' individual or weekly online activity overall, or you can also click on an individual student and look and see how that particular student has been interacting with the course. How much time are they spending? How many page views? Participation. You can also scroll down to see the individual page views and participations. Participations means that the student is doing something, submitting something, participating in a discussion. Something has to be completed by the student in order for participation to show up, but you can also see the views. Again, you can select individual students to look at all of their participation information. You can also look at the class as a whole if you want to just scroll down and see that information. And then you can also run a report to see who is missing assignments, who has the activity, and this will make it in a format that you can export. So I wanted to point that out. This is, again, not really new, but they just took off the word new. That's what makes it a little bit different. So if you have not used that or you weren't aware of that, then you can go ahead and check that out, and it might have more information there than you realized that you actually had. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing now, and I am going to turn it back over to Rich, and he is going to talk to us about something that is not brand new, but that has been rolling out for a while and is they've made improvements to, which is new quizzes.
Okay, we have been back and forth in e-learning about new quizzes for a while now. It's been around for quite some time, a couple of years. The general thought is everybody's still using classic quizzes. There are a few out there that are using new quizzes. I've been using new quizzes in all of my classes for the last 2 years. There's a couple of reasons for that I'll get into in a few minutes. They have Canvas has made some significant improvements to new quizzes over the last year. A lot of back-end changes that have made it run a lot smoother. And one of the reasons why we are endorsing new quizzes, or we're trying to get that out there at least a little bit more for faculty to try, is because there's additional question types that you can use: categorization, ordering, hotspot, text block, stimulus. So they have more variety in questions, including all the question types that were included with the classic quizzes. It's become a lot more streamlined with the question types and how it integrates. One of the big things that has happened over the last, I'd say, 6 or 8 months is being able to export your classic quizzes to the new quiz format. Prior to the last, I would say, 6 months to a year, you weren't able to do that. They had no way for you to move all the information from your classic quizzes, and if you're using classic quizzes with item banks, over to the new quiz format. Now you can export that information seamlessly from classic quiz format. You can move it from your item banks all the way over to the new quiz format. You won't lose your classic quiz format or your item banks. It basically moves it to a new bucket for the new quiz format. So you have the capability to transfer that information from new quizzes, from classic quizzes to new quizzes, should you want to use it. One of the problems we came across that was a constant problem for a long time was the pictures. Whenever I know the biology department ran into this because they have a lot of pictures in their exams. Um, it wasn't it was showing the student a broken link for a picture, but it would show the professor or the faculty member the picture in the exam. And what was happening was the link was being broken. It was something on the Canvas side. It wasn't anything that anybody was doing wrong on our side. That has been corrected as of July 2025. We have tested it. As far as we can tell, everything is working as it should. So if you decide that you want to try one of your tests in the new quiz format with using pictures, feel free. Everything appears, at least according to Canvas, is working. And again, we've tested it a few times in a few different formats. I've personally tested it a couple times, and it seems to be working now. What is coming? One of the main reasons a lot of faculty stick with the classic quizzes is the surveys. I know our department's been all over our Canvas rep about surveys for a long time now. For some reason, they've just hit the stumbling block with surveys. But according to Canvas, by the fourth quarter, which is hopefully the end of December, they're saying in the beginning, but we'll see. We'll see. Surveys will now be included in the new quiz format. When we get that information and we have tested it, make sure it's functional and everything works, we will put that out to faculty so you can use it in the new quiz format. The last thing I just wanted to touch on real quick was the difference between the new quizzes and classic quizzes when it comes to the Respondus Lockdown browser. We get a lot of questions with Respondus Lockdown browser. It has really gained a lot of foothold over the last year, especially in the online formats, with professors wanting to use it for testing security, which is great. I've been using it. I've used it with classic quiz format and new quiz format. What's nice about the new quiz format is you download Respondus Lockdown browser and you can start it from within Canvas. You don't have to leave your browser, log out everything, go to the lockdown browser icon, start that first, then go to the quiz. With new quizzes, you can start the quiz within your regular Chrome, Safari, Edge browsers, and it will automatically start Respondus Lockdown browser in the background for the student without having them to take that extra step to get out. That extra step has caused a lot of problems with students getting test stalls in classic quizzes. Reason being is it has something to do with our single sign-on for our MyCCC portal. There's nothing that we can do to fix that. That is what it is, but we have come up with a workaround for students that are using classic quizzes that run into that problem. We send it out every semester and we address it on a case-by-case basis. But since I started using new quizzes and the Respondus Lockdown browser, that issue has completely gone away. One other thing I want to remind faculty of when we're on the subject of Respondus Lockdown browser, it is important that faculty, if you're going to use the Respondus Lockdown browser, you put the Respondus Lockdown browser link in a module somewhere with a practice test so they can try it out, make sure it's working, avoid any tech issues before the exams are actually administered. I've been doing it for a long time. It's eliminated a lot of problems. I know there's other faculty have started doing this also. It's eliminated a lot of problems when it comes to getting everything running before the semester starts. A lot of students forget 6 weeks in before an exam's given. All of a sudden, they need to take the test and are having tech issues. At least with that practice test in the beginning, you know it was working at some point. That's all I have for really is a short update for new quizzes. If anyone has any questions or needs instruction from us on how to import or export from classic quizzes to new quizzes with item banks, feel free to email us and we'll be more than happy to sit down with you and get that worked out. And that's all I have. I'll turn it back over to Ginny.
All right, thank you, Rich. So just a quick, because we did have someone ask if new quizzes is available. So new quizzes, when we first transitioned to Canvas over 6 years ago, we were told at the time that their current quiz engine, which is now called Classic Quizzes, would be going away, and that it would be sunsetted within 2 years maybe. So this was in 2019, and that new quizzes will be the only option. And then COVID hit, and then Canvas was having some other issues, and now there is no date by which they're saying that classic quizzes is going to be gone. So it's no longer really an issue of having to switch to new quizzes from classic quizzes. I think they pretty much have shelved that for the time being. So you can continue using classic quizzes, but as you can see, there are some benefits to new quizzes. So um, when you are feeling like you maybe want to try it out, and especially if you are using Lockdown Browser for your quizzes, it is somewhat easier to, as Rich said, to use it. So just kind of to let you know that both of those quiz engines are going to be available for the foreseeable future. So you just have to decide what works best for you in your course. All right, so this is just a real quick one. So the dyslexia friendly font is now available in your everyone's account menu. So this isn't something you can turn on for someone else, but you could turn it on for yourself. So if you click on your account button at the top of the global navigation bar on the left-hand side, you'll see your account menu. And down at the bottom is where you've got the use high contrast user interface, which is helpful for someone with maybe with low vision or color blindness, that kind of thing. And then you can also turn on use a dyslexia friendly font. Now, they said when they rolled this out that the research on this is sort of still inconclusive. So I don't know, I can't vouch for how effective that's going to be or helpful that's going to be, but just want to point it out in case anybody or any students might need that or want to try it out. And then there is, last year they rolled out the smart search function in Canvas, and it is pretty much the same. So if you look at your left-hand navigation of your course, you'll see the smart search link. And it's nothing earth-shattering. It basically will search through the content of your course. So if a student is looking for something they knew they saw in the course, it's not going to give them access to anything that you don't allow them access to, but it could make it easier for them to find a resource or something that they saw. The only thing that's really changed about this is that there's now filters. So you can select if you want it just to search all of these different areas, or if you only want it to search in certain places. They've said that there's going to be it's going to be called Ignite AI at some point, and that we should already be seeing that branding here. I don't see that, but that doesn't. If it does suddenly change to Ignite AI, that's just sort of a back end thing that they're using, but it's still a way to just search your course. Okay, so that is what we have for you today. And so I know it's a lot. Again, we didn't really mean for this to be an in-depth training on everything that's new or that's improved, but we will have those resources available for you in the Canvas Faculty Hub. And I appreciate those of you that have already answered or asked questions that you've had as we've gone through. But if there is anyone who has any other questions, you can feel free to put those into the chat or into the Q&A. And let me just, while I'm waiting for any questions that may come, this is our email address. So this is our shared inbox, elearning@camdencc.edu. And so if you have any questions or concerns or need help with anything Canvas related, you can always reach out to us there. We all check that inbox, and so that's definitely your fastest way to get a response. So someone asked, can Lockdown Browser cause problems? As Rich mentioned, 99% of the problems that are encountered can be prevented by having a module in your course that students can access before they ever take a quiz with Lockdown Browser that has all of the directions in it, and most importantly, a practice quiz that they can take. Most of the instructors that do that, we don't have any issues. And if there is a problem, then students can reach out to us before the first graded exam and we can help them. The only major problems we really run into are if the first time students are trying to take a lockdown browser exam is when they have something graded and they have no time, no margin for error. So there are some, obviously with any technology, there are things that can go wrong. But if you build in that time for students to make sure that everything is working up front, then generally it's not an issue. Students cannot take an exam with lockdown browser on their phone. They have to have a computer with a webcam. So that's another thing that I would recommend if you are going to put that in there, just make that clear if you are using lockdown browser. Make sure that you make it clear to the students the type of technology that they need. And we have all of that information for you. So if it's something that you're interested in, there's verbiage that you can put in your syllabus. You can put this information in Canvas. We have that verbiage for you in the Canvas Faculty Hub, and Rich also has created a Canvas shell just with that information. So if you'd like to be added to that, you can always reach out to us. So this question says, are these changes up to faculty members to choose things they like, or are these updated pieces mandatory for everyone? So new quizzes, it depends, it varies, but I mean, you don't have to use discussion checkpoints. You don't have to use new quizzes if you like classic quizzes. But some of the other things like, I mean, differentiation tags, again, that's up to you. You don't have to use those, but they will be available for everyone. All right,
Looks
so
like that's it.
yeah, not seeing any more questions coming in. But that's fine. If you think of one later, again, just email us and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. So I hope that everyone has a great day convocation tomorrow if you're attending, and have a great semester. We're here if you need anything. Rich, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I appreciate everybody attending, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need us. Um, email address is invaluable, so if you just email us, we'll get to you as soon as possible and get everything addressed for you. But thank you for coming out today.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a great evening.